Hello, second graders. Today's story is called Miss Nelson is Back. So, what do you remember about Miss Nelson? And from the book, Nelson is Missing. So, this book is by the same author and the same illustrator. So, if you look at both books, you can see that some things are similar, but some things are different. So, think about it. How are the two classrooms alike? So this story actually happens a few years later than the first story. Okay, so it's not the same children, right? The kids in this picture, notice their faces, right? They have been warned about a certain substitute by an older kid. Okay, so who is this? Do you remember? Maybe Miss Nelson's not the only one back for this story. Let's read to find out what happens. Miss Nelson is back. One Friday, Miss Nelson told her class that she was going to have her tonsils out. "I'll be away next week," she said, "and I expect you to behave." "Yes, Miss Nelson," said the kids in room 207. All right. So, do you remember what happened the last time Miss Nelson was out of school? But at recess, it was another story. "Wow," said the kids. "While Miss Nelson is away, we can really act up." "Not so fast," said a big kid from room 309. "Haven't you ever heard of Viola's Swamp?" "Miss Swamp is the meanest substitute in the whole world," said the big kid. "Nobody acts out when she's around." "Ooh," said Miss Nelson's kids. "She's a real witch," said the big kid. "Ooh," said Miss Nelson's kids. "I'll just bet you get the swamp," said the big kid. So this older boy seems to know a lot about Viola's Swamp. That makes me think maybe he was in Miss Nelson's class when he was their age. Right. On Monday morning, Miss Nelson's kids were all in their seats. They were very nervous. Some of them had not slept well all weekend. "If we get the swamp, I'll just die," said one kid. They heard footsteps in the hall. Slowly the knob turned and the door opened. Okay, so this is called a silhouette, or a shape of a shadow, and that's what's in the door that they're talking about. It was Mr. Blansworth, the principal. "I shall personally take over this class," he said. Miss Nelson's kids were so relieved, but they soon learned that Mr. Blansworth was not a lot of fun. So what does it mean to be relieved? To be relieved means that usually if you were worried about something, you feel better about it. You're not worried anymore. Relieved. All morning, Mr. Blansworth tried to amuse the class with his corny card tricks. "Oh, brother," said the class. This afternoon, Mr. Blansworth showed the class his favorite shadow pictures. This is kid stuff," said the class. The next day, Mr. Blansworth demonstrated his favorite bird calls. They were not a success. And for 2 days, Mr. Blansworth showed slides of his goldfish, Lucille. Miss Nelson's kids had never been so bored. So the principal, Mr. Blansworth, he's trying to amuse the students. How do you think the kids are feeling? While dusting erasers in the schoolyard, 3 of the ringleaders of 207 discussed the situation. "Something will have to be done," they said. "We must get rid of Blandsworth." And they hatched a plot. Okay. So hatched a plot means that you came up with a plan. I came up with an idea. So if you notice in this page, the children are banging erasers. Back when chalkboards were green or black and they had chalk, the erasers would get full of chalk and you had to bang them together to get the dust out. And sometimes teachers used to use that as a like a punishment or a consequence for not behaving. So we don't have that anymore because we have whiteboards and you don't need to clap the erasers together. You can just use them for a long time. Okay. The next day, they weren't in class. "That's too bad," said Mr. Blandsworth. "They'll miss all the excitement." Mr. Blandsworth was about to show the class his collection of ballpoint pens from all over the world when someone came to the door. Slowly the knob turned and the door opened. Ooh, who do you think it might be this time? "Oh, look," said the class, "Miss Nelson is here." A tall and lumpy Miss Nelson tottered into the room. Mr. Blandsworth was surprised. "You're back sooner than expected," he said. The tall and lumpy Miss Nelson didn't speak. Said the kids, "her throat must be sore." "Are you sure you're well enough?" said Mr. Blandsworth. "She's sure," said the kids. "Well, in that case," said the principal, "I'll be getting back to the office. Nice to have you back, Miss Nelson," and he left the room. Okay. "Hot dog!" cried the class. "We got rid of Blandsworth. Now we can do just as we please." And at the stroke of 10, the kids from 207 left the building. No one stopped them. They went straight to the movies, where they saw The Monster That Ate Chicago twice. "This is really living," they said. And afterward they went to Lulu's, where they stuffed themselves silly. But soon they made a serious mistake. I wonder what mistake they made. Heading back to school, they passed Miss Nelson's house. Miss Nelson couldn't believe her eyes. "Those are my kids," she said in a scratchy voice. "What are they doing out of school? And who was that with them?" Miss Nelson telephoned Mr. Blandsworth to see what was going on. "You're not Miss Nelson," said Blandsworth. "Miss Nelson is back." And he hung up. "Can't fool me," he said. Said Miss Nelson. "Something will have to be done." And she went to her closet. Back in 207, Miss Nelson's kids were spending an agreeable afternoon. They were very pleased with themselves. "We should do this more often," they said. They did not notice the figure in the hall. Slowly the knob turned and the door opened. Who do we think it could be this time? "My name is Viola Swamp," said the lady in a scratchy voice. "Yipes!" cried the kids. "The swamp!" "That's right," said Miss Swamp, "and I'm here to whip this class into shape. Get back to those desks, on the double." The class did as it was told. The big kid from 309 was absolutely right. Miss Swamp was a real witch. She knew how to get results. The class did a whole week's work in no time. We shouldn't have gotten rid of Blandsworth, they said. Pipe down, said the Swamp. Or just then something under a desk attracted her attention. It was a mask. Aha, said Miss Swamp. So that's your little game. And she tried on the mask just as Mr. Blandsworth stepped into the room. Miss Nelson, said Blandsworth, I'm of the opinion that somebody has been impersonating you. Uh-oh, whispered the kids. You don't say, said Miss Swamp. Probably just some kids acting up. I'm sure it won't happen again. And Mr. Blandsworth left. Okay, so what do you think impersonating is? Impersonating means that you are pretending to be another person. So Mr. Blandsworth is pretty easily tricked. And it won't, will it? Says Miss Swamp to the class. Because the swamp will be watching. A minute later, Miss Nelson appeared. I'm back, she said. Hot dog, said the kids. Are we glad to see you? Didn't you have fun with Mr. Blandsworth? Asked Miss Nelson. Said the kids. They decided not to mention Miss Viola Swamp, but they wondered why Miss Nelson hadn't seen her in the hall. So, I'm surprised that Miss Nelson didn't see Miss Swamp in the hall. How could that have happened?